Bullington, and you're watching the fifth quarter, our Friday night wrap show where we bring you all things that happen around the greater Houston area. And Week 10 did not disappoint as districts are starting to wrap up with 1 week of district play left. But let's get started. We're going to start in District 5A, District 11 5A. Marshall took on Northside, and Marshall only had one loss so far this season to Manville, and they do have a really good game tonight against Northside as they win 68-7. Then we go to the team that they lost to in 11 5A. Willow Ridge took on Manville tonight, and it was a close game. Actually, Willow Ridge led most of this game. They went into it 5-1. Manville on top of the district, and I think they solidified that district tonight though, as Manville pulled this one out 49-41. In a juggernaut of a game. It was a really good one from the Mavericks. They pull this one out. Pretty sure that they're solidifying that district and becoming the district champs. Up next, we've got DOBIE versus Sam Houston. DOBIE only loss to the season comes from Atascocita, which Atascocita looks to be the district champs in that 22-6A district as they're just rolling, scoring 60 points a game. Well, DOBIE added a 60-point game to their record tonight as they beat Sam Houston 60-14. Jersey Village and Stafford went head-to-head in 17-6A tonight, and Jersey Village pulled this one out 21-14. We're going to move to one of the toughest districts in all of Texas high school football, we'd have to say, in that 15-6A district. Let's find it. We're going to start off in KAIN versus College Park. KAIN 4-2. They had that big win against the Woodlands a few weeks ago. College Park has been struggling this season as last week they lost to Klein Oak. But College Park decided that in these last 2 weeks they are going to pull the upset as they win 24-21 over the Hurricanes. Another big matchup tonight as the Woodlands took on Klein Collins. This game was tied into the fourth 13-13, but Collins pulls out the win as they win 20-13. Their record improves to 7-1 on the district, and they're still up there with Klein Oak to become district champs. It'll be between those two for that 15-6A title. Humble took on Kingwood tonight as well. This was another really good game as Humble led most of the game, and Kingwood bounced back to try to start adding some points to their night. But Humble pulls this one out. They win 31-21 over Kingwood. In 24-6A, Clear Creek takes on Clear Falls. Clear Falls wins this one 69-42. This has been a great season for Clear Falls. The first time ever that they go 3-0 to begin the season in school's history. They were once our Geico Team of the Week after being 2-0 on the season, but another big win from this team as they're looking to solidify their game and start making that playoff push in 6A. Our last game that we have was an upset tonight as in 21-6A as Westbrook took on Deer Park. Deer Park pulled this one out and defeated Westbrook 35-27 and added a second loss to Westbrook's season. A big time win for that program. We got to see how that lines up with the 21-6A district. We'll have more on that when we come back here in a minute. But Week 10, a fantastic week of Texas high school football. We love seeing weeks like we had tonight for Week 10, and it just makes Week 11 more exciting as districts are going to be finalized next week. It was just like yesterday that this 2019 season started, and we're already 10 weeks in. It's been one heck of a 2019 years. We've seen some great games. But when we come back, we have Matt Harris with us on the phone, our Inside High School Sports Insider, as he gives us a little bit more in-depth vision and an in-depth analysis of the greater Houston area and Texas high school football as these districts start to line up. But we'll be right back with that.
Don't forget to catch our extended coverage of the high school football season each week on The Warm-Up, presented by your local Houston area Geico agents. We will get you ready for all the action this Thursday on all our social media outlets.
And we are back with the fifth quarter, and one of my favorite people, Matt Harris, is on the phone with us, our Inside High School Sports Insider. Matt, we only have 1 week left of Texas high school football. How upset does that, 1 week left of district Texas high school football. How sad does that make you?
It's definitely a weird feeling when you're like, man, I feel like football season started yesterday, and somehow it really hit for me earlier. I saw somebody send out a tweet that's like, yep, some teams are going to lose tomorrow night who didn't really have a bye week, and they're going to turn in equipment. And it's like their season's over. It's done. And I was like, no way. I feel like the season just started. So we've still got 7 weeks left. 6 weeks of playoffs, including the state championships, and that one last week of district next week. But man, it has gone fast.
I was literally sitting here talking in the first segment like, wow, we only have 1 week of district left. Like, there's not going to be as much football going on. It's crazy. But speaking of that, Matt, how are some of these districts lining up? A couple that we have some questions about. Let's start with that 15-6A district. The Woodlands, Klein Collins, Klein KAIN, College Park, Klein Oak, Klein. I could go on for days. I think Oak Ridge is in that one too. I think I actually just listed all teams in that district. I'm kind of proud of myself. But how do we see that district lining up?
Yeah, so this is a district, again, with 9 teams. We've talked about this one a lot on the fifth quarter this season. And I've got to make a big apology to the Woodlands. I've said for weeks, it's like, man, I don't think, just looking at the numbers, I don't know if the Woodlands are going to make the playoffs this season. And, obviously this is a team that is one of the 3 or 4 or 5 hallmark programs that you really think of when it comes to the Houston area, and a team that made it to the state championship game, I believe 2-3 years ago. And yeah, back in 2016, they made the state championship game, but they fought their way back in it. They almost beat Klein Collins tonight. They wound up losing that one, but they're in really good position to potentially fill that 3rd or 4th spot in that district behind Klein Collins and Klein Oak.
And so then another district that we've had a bunch of questions about is that 10-5A district. That district is stacked all the way through. Now that Shadow Creek has kind of taken over, besides them probably taking that district, who do you see falling behind them?
So it's going to be Shadow Creek. They're going to go undefeated, likely. They've got to play Rosenberg-Terry next week, but that's very likely a win, especially for a program that only has 1 loss in school history, that being the state championship game last year. Behind them, it'll likely be Friendswood, followed by Hightower and Foster. I'm not sure how that'll shake out 3 and 4 with Hightower and Foster, but those are going to be your 4 in that district, with Angleton just missing the cut.
And doesn't Hightower and Foster, did they play next week or did they play this week?
Hightower Foster, I can look that up for you.
Week.
Yeah, Hightower Foster is next week, so that game will likely determine the winner of that game. I believe should determine who gets that 3rd spot, who gets that 4th spot. I'm not totally sure on what the enrollments are and who's going to go D1, who's going to go D2 bracket, so it may not matter, but I'm not totally sure on that one.
So, I mean, all these districts have been really, really interesting as we're getting through, but another one that we were talking about was 11-5A, as Manville looked like they took the district championship tonight.
They did. Manville came out with a 49-41 win over Willow Ridge, and they'll wrap up their season next week with a very likely win over Waltrip, and they'll go undefeated. Manville will finish in that 1st spot in that district, followed by Marshall at 6-1. They're currently 6-1 in district. They've still got 1 game left, but that 1 loss came to Manville earlier in the season. That'll be rounded out by Willow Ridge and Sterling. The interesting thing about Marshall, too, is they lost to Manville. Manville struggled a little bit with those other 2 playoff teams for this district, in Sterling and Willow Ridge, and Marshall blew the doors off of Willow Ridge. I'm not sure what they did against Sterling, to be honest with you. But actually, that might be – no, okay, yeah. Marshall beat Sterling 69-21. So the two teams that Manville really struggled with in district play, Marshall blew them out, but Marshall wound up losing to Manville. So that's something that just kind of interesting to watch down the road in the playoffs.
That just goes to show how rivalries and how losses from previous years and just teams that you want to beat, that just goes to show how close of a game you can make those kind of things.
Yeah.
So then another district that you and I were kind of talking about was that Atascocita district, the 22-6A. We know that Atascocita has taken that district, but what does the rest of the district look to line up as?
Currently, it'll wind up being Humble behind that, followed by Kingwood and Pasadena Dobie. Well, actually, Dobie will finish ahead of Kingwood. Dobie's a team that's had an impressive season. This isn't a program that you really see necessarily make the playoffs a whole ton, but they got blown out by Atascocita 61-6 earlier this season, but that's been their only loss before they wrap up their season against Pasadena Memorial next week. But yeah, they're currently sitting at 8-1. That's a really impressive season for Dobie.
Are there any districts or any final, or as we're going into week 11, anything that you've seen that you're just kind of like, wow, I can't believe that's how this district lined up?
I have really been going back to 15-6A a lot this season. Yes, the Woodlands have suffered some injury. They've had some injury problems, but they were able to bounce back really nicely and really insert themselves into the conversation for playoffs once again in that district. Just looking at it, it's gonna, like I've mentioned, Klein Collins and Klein Oak 1 and 2, and then you've got Klein Cain, who lost, I believe, to College Park tonight, and then the Woodlands and Conroe all kind of fighting it out for that last spot. So it looks like with Klein Cain's loss, that very well might put the Woodlands and Conroe into those last two spots. But that's been a really interesting district to watch all season. I think that Klein Collins was a clear favorite in that district. That's going to be how it shakes out. But everything behind that, behind Collins and Klein Oak, was really, really fun to watch all season there.
Most definitely. I mean, the 2019 season in general has been really fun to watch. But so, Matt, as we're closing out the season so far, what has been one of your favorite, I don't want to say memories because I don't think we're far enough in the season to say memories, but what's been one of your favorite moments?
Favorite moments? Obviously just covering the area and tweeting out everybody's scores every week on Twitter has been a lot of fun.
Everyone, Matt is our Inside High School Sports insider and tweeter. I forgot to tell y'all that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So that's been a lot of fun. One more game I do want to mention, though, from tonight. Deer Park came up with a big upset of Westbrook, who made it to the 6A Division II state championship game a year ago. They graduated a lot of talent from that team, but they also brought back a lot. So this isn't quite the same Westbrook team from a year ago, but still a massive upset. And just a shout out to Deer Park. I don't know if you guys are getting to that later in the show, but I'm sure you'll let Robert expand on that.
I talked about that little, oh my gosh, big win. If I had an emoji or graphics that I could pop up right now, I'd pop it up on the screen for you. But that's definitely one of the bigger upsets of the night that I saw.
No doubt. Yeah, that was one that got a lot of attention on Twitter too. I tweeted that out, and you got quote tweets from Greg Tepper and Decron and everybody. So that was a big surprise. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the fifth quarter. We'll be right back.
Watch Inside High School Sports to catch this week's Chevy Spotlight, brought to you by your Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive their award-winning products.
And we are back with the producer of Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports, Robert Sheik. Robert, week 10, we only have 1 week left of district football.
I know. It's hard to believe that the postseason's almost here. We have district champions getting crowned tonight, playoff bursts being wrapped up. Yeah, it's definitely cold enough outside to make us realize,
as you can see,
the second season is almost here.
We are pretty wrapped up as it is tonight.
Yep.
But as you were saying, some districts are wrapping up. Some districts were crowned. I don't know so much about the 15-6A. Was somebody crowned in there as the district champion?
Yeah, that's the one that we've been kind of joking about all year, and it looks like it's going to come down to the end. I haven't
okay
seen the
with
Klein
that.
Oak score, or Klein Oak might actually play tomorrow. I'm not sure on that, but the Klein Collins knocks off the Woodlands. Big win right there. So the Woodlands still has some work to do to get into the postseason, I believe. And Klein Collins still has a chance.
They had the week off.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Klein Oak had the week off. So if KLEIN can upset Klein Oak next week, then Klein Collins will win the district title. Klein Collins has a bye next week. So Klein Collins is in the house with one loss season, a 9-1 campaign for head coach Adrian Mitchell. He has to be really excited with what he has going to the postseason, regardless of whether or not the Tigers are district champions or not. But, KLEIN is certainly capable of pulling an upset. That was our Geico team of the week last week, as the Hurricanes clinched the playoff spot for the first time in school history. School history, of course, of 2 years.
I mean, it's such a long school history.
And as we talk about that, and another cool one that we had last night that you'll see tomorrow morning on Chevy's Inside High School Sports, Bridgeland, another second-year program, it wrapped up its first postseason trip with a big win, shootout win over Cy Lakes last night. So Bridgeland is going to the postseason. Very, very cool moment. David Raffield used to be the head coach at Cy Falls back in the day, and then went to the Bryan College Station area, I believe. Came back to Cy-Fair ISD to open up Bridgeland, and he has the Bears rolling in year 2 and in the postseason. So that's a cool story.
It's interesting how all these two-year teams,
Yeah.
2-year-old teams, are making district, going to state champions, championships.
Shadow Creek is definitely its own 2-year monster, I guess you could say.
I would not want to be in that Shadow Creek district. I know we say 10-5A is a really tough district, but Shadow Creek to me is just, it's almost a college team.
Yeah, no, it's Shadow Creek could compete in 6A Division I. I have no doubts about that. You can't fault the Sharks. They're doing what they're told to do, they're asked to do, and they are just whipping up on some really good teams. Foster's really the only team that gave Shadow Creek a full 4-quarter contest this year, and even that game was a 14-point game until Foster scored a late touchdown to make it a 1-score game. But yeah, Shadow Creek is going to be tough to knock out of the playoffs, that's for sure.
I mean, I'd like to see a Shadow Creek Allen at some point in time, maybe in the future. we'll bring some 5As and some 6As against each other. But what are some other districts that we've kind of seen line up as of tonight?
Well, just kind of glancing, I'm going to glance at our rundown. 22 6A, Humble with a big win tonight over Kingwood. Atascocita is the top dog in that district. Pasadena Dobie actually beat Humble earlier this season, and Dobie suffered its only loss of the year, I believe, to Atascocita. Humble's only loss of the year came to Dobie. Humble will play Atascocita next week. Obviously a tough task for Humble, but that could potentially, an upset there could potentially shake up the district championship race that in 22 6A. So that's something to keep an eye on next week. Let's see what else. Strake Jesuit last night, big win Thursday night over George Ranch. It looks like Pearland Dawson will probably win that district, but Strake Jesuit solidified its spot as the second place team in there, and Strake Jesuit will actually go to Division II. So Strake will be the top seed in 6A Division II coming out of that district. Magnolia in Class 5A. Magnolia, we don't get to talk a lot about that district because it's spread out with a lot of those East Texas teams.
Yeah.
So we don't get to see Magnolia West play a ton in the Houston area, but Magnolia beats the crosstown rival Magnolia West tonight pretty impressively too. It little bigger margin of victory than I think a lot of people expected to see there. So impressive stuff from Magnolia tonight. And then what about Willow Ridge against Manville tonight? I know. You have to feel for those Willow Ridge kids. And, it's 2 weeks in a row. Manville had the big win over Fort Bend Marshall earlier this year to kind of take control of that district race in Class 5A Division II. And we just kind of assumed the Mavs would kind of cruise to the district title. But the Mavs had to earn it, and they earned it tonight. Credit to Sterling last week for leading Manville in the third quarter, and then credit to Willow Ridge tonight for leading Manville in the fourth quarter. Manville stages a late comeback. that offense can put up points in a hurry for Manville, and the Mavs win another district title after not winning the district title last year for the first time in who knows how long. The Mavs get it back, clinching it this week, and they're 9-0 heading into the final week of the regular season, and that's certainly a team to all four of those teams in that district
Most definitely.
can do some damage, hopefully in the first or second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Manville, Willow Ridge, Marshall,
and
Sterling.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like all of these four teams that are making these playoff spots for these districts are all really solid.
Yeah,
teams.
no, there's
not a lot of pushovers.
Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of. Well, this team's going to be a cakewalk in the first round of the playoffs. You're not going to see a lot of those out of Region 3 in both 6A and 5A, the Houston area. A lot of good. Deer Park with a big win tonight over Beaumont Westbrook. No, there's no off nights right now. Really, for any of these teams. Clear Falls, I'm pretty sure, wrapped up a playoff bid with hanging 69 points on Clear Creek, 69-42 win over the Wildcats for Clear Falls. So that's very cool for that program. We did a Chevy Spotlight with Clear Falls early in the season, and I think it had been like since 2012 or 2013 since Clear Falls had made the playoffs, and the Knights only made the playoffs once in school history. So this will be the Knights' second trip to the postseason. Very, very cool story there.
So how do you sum up Week 10 thus far?
Boy, that's a good question. I think you'd really just have to, you can start to see the kind of postseason picture starting to play out and shape out. We're starting to get a much better idea of who's going to be in, potentially what matchups will be in. I know that Cypress District, 14-6A, those four playoff teams are set. You have Bridgeland and Tomball Memorial, I believe, will go to 6A Division II bracket, and Cy Ranch and I'm drawing a blank. Who's the fourth team? But anyway,
sorry guys, I can't help you on that one.
Cy Woods, that's
there
it.
We
Yeah,
go.
Cy
okay.
Woods. Cy Woods and Cy Ranch will go 6A Division I. So you're starting to see quite a few districts like that where, we know who the four playoff teams are, and, there might be some seeding to be played for next week. But yeah, and I'm sure the coaches have to love that. If you have your seed locked in, or you have your playoff berth locked up going into Week 10, and you have a couple banged up guys, you can definitely rest them a little bit, and get ready for the second season starting here in a couple weeks.
And Robert being able to pull that out of his mind is the reason why he produces that show and I produce this show. So Robert, what are your final thoughts as we are wrapping up Week 10 going into Week 11, and what else will people be able to see on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports tomorrow at 8:30 a.m.
Well,
on KTU11?
I think our game of the week was Klein Collins and the Woodlands. It lived up to the billing. And what we saw from Klein Collins is what we always see from Klein Collins. That Tigers defense is so ferocious, so tough. The Woodlands had it 4th and goal at like the 3-yard line, 4 seconds left, ball game on the line. And it's basically, man versus man, line versus line. Who's going to win the battle at the line of scrimmage? The Woodlands tries to run it right up the middle, and Klein Collins' defense does what it always does. And so this is looking like your traditional Klein Collins type team that can go into the postseason and look, do what it does best. And, when it gets into November and December, the weather starts getting a little nasty. Some of the spread offenses, have a little more trouble, and these power defense type programs like Klein Collins can really start to shine. If the weather gets a little nasty in the postseason, especially,
which will happen. It's Texas.
So yeah, and those are fun highlights to watch, especially if you like defense. A couple of really big defensive plays in that game. Let's see what else on the show that we maybe haven't mentioned. Looks like we've touched on just about every game. Strike Jesuit with a big win last night. I don't know if we mentioned that enough. Dylan Campbell, 4 rushing touchdowns, all 4 touchdowns for Strike.
Sounds like almost a bobblehead-worthy night.
Could be. And, that's a program that kind of seems to fly under the radar a little bit, but, the Crusaders, are 7-2 again and postseason bound once again. Our Chevy Spotlight, the team we touched on a second ago, Tomball Memorial, headed to the playoffs for just the second time in school history. Another team in that 14-6A district. Tomball Memorial in kind of a weird spot because that district is mostly Cy-Fair ISD schools. But Tomball Memorial survives that district. Big win Thursday night over Cy Springs. And next week we'll basically have essentially the district championship, I think. Cy Ranch against Tomball Memorial, so that should be fun. But yeah, our Chevy Spotlight this week on the Wildcats. Really cool story there. Their superstar wide receiver Logan Kyle's headed to Vanderbilt. But really good story there. Sam Parker, the head coach, he was at Spring for a very long time, and since about 2010, took over at Tomball Memorial. This is his 3rd year there, and the program is definitely elevated to kind of a whole new level. 2 playoff berths, back-to-back playoff berths now for the Wildcats. So impressive stuff there. And let's see what else. That sounds like about it.
Well, it's going to be a jam-packed, great show on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports. Tune in tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. on KHU 11. Until next time, though, I'm Ashlea Bullington. He's Robert Sheep. Thank you so much for watching the Fix.